This week, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration plans to reclassify marijuana as a lower-risk drug. Right now, it's considered a Schedule 1 drug. The change would move it to a Schedule 3.
Now, our 9 News medical expert, Dr. Coley, joins us this morning to explain exactly what this means. Dr. Coley, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Okay, what is the difference between Schedule 1 and Schedule 3, and what criteria does a drug have to satisfy to be reclassified as lower risk?
This is a big change. So Schedule 1 is, think of our most dangerous drugs. This is heroin, ecstasy, LSD. These are drugs that are highly addictive and have absolutely no medical use whatsoever. On the other hand, Schedule 3 are drugs that can have some addictive potential, but they could also have some benefit used medically. So I'm thinking like ketamine or testosterone. So having this kind of a change could really mean a big thing for marijuana, because for so long it's been a Schedule 1 drug.
And they don't really change these classifications all that often. So as a doctor, from your perspective, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really very interesting. So I'm excited about the change because I think it signals that marijuana is safer. But I want to caution everybody that doesn't mean it's safe. Okay, so we still know that there are a lot of risks associated with chronic marijuana use, especially amongst teens and adolescents. So this is an opportunity to talk to your kids, because I'm afraid this kind of a change would signal to people, oh, it's fine, I can just use it. That's the government telling us that it's safe, but we know that it can be linked to mental health problems like mania, psychotic conditions, anxiety, substance abuse. It can be linked to heart attacks and strokes, and that's a study that just recently came out as well.
It's never a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Now, we do know that, of course, cannabis has had medicinal uses for years now. So what kind of research and impact would this really have that they'd actually be looking into?
And that's the part that I'm excited about, because making this a Schedule C, rescheduling it, as we like to say, means that it can have more medical research, means that the FDA can now consider drugs that have cannabis products in them as part of their medical armamentarium. And they've got a ton of drugs in the pipeline that they've just been sitting on that they haven't really put out there. So one of the pieces is we can have more medicinal marijuana and more drugs derived from cannabis. The second piece is we'll get more research, we'll get more funding, because it's no longer a Schedule 1 substance, it's now a Schedule 3 substance, so more research going into it. And in states where medical marijuana is legal, such as here in Colorado, we can actually get access to doctors writing medical marijuana prescriptions.
It's so interesting, because I think this will be like the biggest reclassification in 50 years or something like that. So how long will the reclassification take? Like, where do we go from here?
Yep, so now they've actually submitted the proposal. So the next thing that happens, and I encourage everybody to write in, is a public comment period. That's about 1 to 2 months, where the DEA and others are collecting everybody's comments to try to see, is this what Americans want? Would this help people out there? They'll consider those comments, and we're looking at probably around January of next year if this actually does go into effect.
Dr. Coley, I apologize to put you on the spot, but I'm curious, because a lot of people right now, you self-medicate with cannabis, and I'm just wondering if this is going to change the game for doctors and their patients, and to, having something a little bit more in line with what the doctors would like to see.
Very much so, and that's the big change here, is that the scientific community is now actually saying we need to study this as a drug rather than people just using it, which we know that they're using it out there.
Right.
So I actually feel this is a really positive change, because it's going to send the message that let's not just use it without knowing what it does, but let's now study it better, and let's apply it in more medical settings. Let's put it in clinical trials, which is something we haven't done so far, clinical trials of cancer patients and others, and see really what the impacts of this are. But again, the message out there to everyday people, it doesn't mean that it's completely safe. It just means that it's less addictive than heroin, LSD, and some of those other medications.
Real quick, we know marijuana is big business in Colorado. So what does this mean for businesses?
It's probably pretty positive, actually, for those businesses, because up until now, they hadn't been qualifying for a lot of tax credits and breaks. So if this does go through, it would actually mean it's more lucrative for those businesses. They're able to probably not just do research, not just get research funding, but also potentially improve their bottom line and their revenues.
Very interesting. Dr. Coley, thank you so much. And as always, you can find all of Dr. Coley's appearances at 9news.com/Dr. Coley.